I live in the Miccosukee Land Co-op. Even though it's fairly close to town, it was really quiet and remote feeling. And behind it was undeveloped land.
A few years ago, that land went up for sale.
It presented the prospect of it being a development. When this land first went for sale, I went back here for the first time, and I just presumed that it was old agricultural land, like most of all the land around here. I walked back here with very low expectations.
All it took was walking in, and she found a way that she and her neighbors could protect the land. They now call it the Hickory Preserve. It started with the trees.
So this is a nice shortleaf pine, the mockernut hickory, and they're triangular kind of diamonds in their barks. It had also unusual wildflowers that I had never seen anywhere else. I thought this land might be something special.
Those plants led Jean to start researching. She found a paper with an intriguing premise, and that led her to a woodland at her place of work, Tall Timber's research station. The dominant tree species in this ecosystem is a tree that had been associated with abandoned agricultural fields.
Kind of tradition in the Red Hills region that's between Tallahassee and Thomasville and the surrounding area was that if it was native habitat, then it was longleaf pine wiregrass. And if it had shortleaf pine and loblolly pine, then it was old field. So it used to be an agricultural field that was abandoned maybe 50, 100 years ago, longer than that.
Agriculture disturbs soil, which means certain native plants won't grow in an old field. Abandoned farm fields are too moist to carry fire, which means tree species from lower, wetter areas will migrate uphill, where fire would normally have killed them. For a long time, the staff at Tall Timbers thought this part of their property was one of those altered landscapes.
We thought this was an old field for a long time, but when we started to look at it more carefully, we realized there are a lot of species here that you typically only see in longleaf pine wiregrass native communities. And so we wondered, well, what are they doing here if it's an old field?
It isn't an old field, but while it has plants in common with longleaf pine ecosystems, it isn't that either.
And so we started to realize this is probably not an old field, but really actually a different kind of community.
This is the shortleaf oak hickory habitat, and researchers at Tall Timbers see evidence that it once covered the Red Hills region. It's a similar type of woodland to longleaf pine wiregrass, rich in ground cover species.
What's kind of interesting too, though, is that there are certain species that we found tend to only occur in this shortleaf native habitat in particular that we don't find in the longleaf pine wiregrass. So that was even more evidence that this is kind of a special, unique community that kind of deserves its own name and its own recognition from a conservation standpoint.
Discovering that this was an actual ecosystem habitat that I just wasn't familiar with, that's unique to the Red Hills, this Red Hills shortleaf pine oak hickory, was pretty exciting.
It's a Red Hills habitat very much linked to the red.
The Red Hills region in general, you know, this is the area between Tallahassee and Thomasville and between the Apalachicola River and the Osceola River, has higher clay content than the surrounding coastal plain. This area has finer soils or higher nutrient levels, higher nitrogen, higher mineral nutrients. And there's something about that that seems to foster this shortleaf pine community as opposed to longleaf pine wiregrass.
Like longleaf pine wiregrass, this habitat thrives with fire.
It still burns great because it's got plenty of fuel, it's very productive, has a high grass component. We usually burn it on a 2-year interval.
You can see this habitat here and there in Tallahassee. Sometimes the trees remain, but not the ground cover. At Hickory Preserve, the trees and ground cover are there, but several trees have moved in from downslope, and the canopy is closed.
The process of restoration for Hickory Preserve would be to first open up the canopy, to remove some of the water oaks and sweet gums and all the little things that have moved in. And when those are removed, then it opens up the canopy like this, so sunlight reaches the floor. The the ground. And when sunlight reaches the ground, plants that have been suppressed start coming back.
The Hickory Preserve Board has spent years raising funds to purchase and restore the property. The land has recently been placed under a conservation easement with the Northwest Florida Water Management District. They're also working with Tall Timbers to obtain funding to begin restoration. For WFSU Public Media, I'm Rob Diaz de Villegas.